You know what's funny is like people keep like sending me fan art now of me as Spider-Man, but they've come up with like a whole like custom costume design that's red and black and has a bomb logo on the chest, and it's actually kind of cool that they all
got
like
that creative.
Yeah, because one person drew it, and then another one modded it into Ultimate Spider-Man the video game, like super quick. Like he did it in like an hour or two, and then someone else sent another one that was like slightly modified with more red on it, and the mask off, and it's just like 3 different artists come at me with like basically the same design altered in different ways, and it's cool.
Wonderful.
So yeah, I think that's interesting. I mean, I keep getting so much cool fan art lately. I love all the stuff they send. It's awesome. And yeah. By the way, I wanted to tell everyone on the podcast that after the success of Wednesday's stream, I got enough donations that I could finally afford Injustice 2. And I wanted to thank everyone, if you're listening to this, who donated, for being such an awesome group of people and being so helpful. And now I can finally play that game I've been wanting to play for like 5 months, or however long it's been out. Hang on, I'm opening the plastic right now.
Stop it! Stop making noises.
With my teeth.
Yes.
Oh, I use my keys.
Okay. So,
yeah,
I'd
listen
like to
to that.
begin.
It's ASMR.
So I'm going to send you a picture on Messenger.
Okay.
And I want your live reaction.
Alright.
It's been sent.
Okay. I'm waiting
it's
for it
loading.
to get here. Let's see here. Oh, I forgot to hook up to my Wi-Fi, so it's taking a second to pop up. Let's see here. I'm waiting in suspense. I'm watching the stupid circle go around. I hate loading bars. I'm really hoping this is worth the suspense.
Just put some really dramatic music over this part.
Yeah. Wait, am I editing this one or are you?
I am.
Oh, okay. Yeah, do that, David.
Dun, dun, dun,
Why is
dun,
it taking so long? Hang on. I'm gonna close out a stupid messenger and pull it back up. This is upsetting me. Still nothing. Okay, that's bullshit. I'm pulling it up on my computer.
Hurry up! Come on!
I'm trying.
Be fast.
David sent a photo. What? What is what?
Martha De Laurentiis is a producer on Hannibal, the TV show.
Who's that?
And so is Brian Fuller. Those are the people in the picture.
Is Brian Fuller the one with the glasses?
Yes. And they've got a little Hannibal doll.
I want a little Hannibal doll.
Do you know what? They're teasing a possible revival.
Yay! I was like, why is... So, well, what's, I don't
that
mean to be
didn't work
rude.
as well as I wanted it to.
Because I was just like, what? I was confused because I couldn't figure out which one was Brian Fuller.
He was the one with the beard. That's appropriate because he's gay.
Well, yeah. Wait, what? No, that doesn't make sense.
It's not supposed to.
I'm excited. I'm so happy. I can't wait for more Hannibal. They better do it. Either more seasons on Netflix, because you know what? Here's the thing. NBC was like such a...
No. It won't be at Netflix because the exclusive streaming rights reside with Amazon. So if they're going to make it with anybody, it's going to be with Amazon.
Whatever. As long as it's on a streaming service, because... Here's the thing. NBC was kind of a terrible idea because that channel has a sort of like specific fan, like viewer base already, and it's no wonder that it was kind of not working so far, like in terms of views. I swear, if they put it out on a streaming service where only its specific fans will go watch it, and it'll be on at like all time, because it's a streaming service, they won't have to wait for a time slot, nor will they have to worry about censoring it down. Anyone can just go check it out who wants to, and I think it'll thrive better there. So, I think Hannibal's one of those shows that's like a match made in heaven for a streaming service rather than a network station.
So what do you think?
I'm super excited. I can't wait for more Hannibal.
Hannibal's great.
It's one of my favorite TV shows ever.
It's really good. I haven't watched the sequels to Silence of the Lambs, but I did watch Silence of the Lambs with Jodie Foster and he's the bigger star, but I can't remember his name. Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
But I didn't like it as much, mainly because it was just a little bit too obvious. Because it's like, he just says, like, it's like, yeah, you get it. It's obvious. It's, whatchamacallit? It's completely obvious that it's just, he's the bad guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's just villain. So, like, he's in evil. Your face about how evil he is, but he does it in such a classy way. Like, he's classy and evil, but it's not, like, subdued.
Yeah, and that's what I really liked a lot more about the Hannibal TV show, is that, yes, he's evil, and yes, he sounds evil, and he looks evil, but he's not cartoonish about it. He downplays it a lot, and he's a character more than a caricature.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I still, though, I think now that we've cast, I know it's going to be, like, kind of controversial, but I think Mads Mikkelsen is just generally a better, overall Hannibal. I really want to see all of the events
to the role.
I really want to see a version of Silence of the Lambs with him, where he's running around like bamboozling the cops by pretending to be a corpse and wearing a different guy's face.
Like, that's what I didn't like about Anthony Hopkins' portrayal in that movie. It's a good movie. It's a really good movie, but Hannibal wasn't very nuanced. He was like, ha ha ha, I'm the villain, I'm the bad guy, I'm gonna kill you all. And he's not like, he doesn't have motivations, he doesn't have a character arc, and you don't really get inside his head or understand him. And I think that's the fascinating part of making a Hannibal story, is that you have this guy who's doing these really horrible things, but you can also kind of understand him and get to know him.
Yeah. He's interesting in that he's like a bad guy who eats people.
He does all these horrible things,
but he's
not necessarily a horrible person.
You find him likable and even like somewhat forgivable. Like you get so into his head that you almost like want him to win sometimes. Like you don't consider him the villain. He's more of just a main character. Mm-hmm. If anything, the Vergers are the villains. Mason and Margaret.
Yeah, Margo,
yeah.
No, Margo's not really as much of a villain.
She does villainy things, but is not necessarily just like a bad guy.
They call her an anti-hero.
Yeah.
And she ends up getting with the psychiatrist lady.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I also... Didn't people get super angry that Margo Verger was a lesbian, but she wasn't as she was in the book, where she was described as being super muscular and large and had short hair?
She is the butch lesbian stereotype.
Oh yeah, she was like just flat out a stereotype. Then they toned it down and made her just like a girl, like.
And
like
some
just,
people got annoyed that maybe they hinted that she was bisexual instead of lesbian. But my question is, what difference does it make?
she still ends up with a girl. That's her love interest.
It's not as if we're all out here saying that there. It's not as if there's a bunch of people saying we've got enough bisexual portrayals on film. We don't need more of a. It's not as if we're saying that either.
Yeah.
So, what difference does it make?
I think that's one of those things where people are just splitting hairs. Like, no one's ever, like, happy with anything. Like,
they're happy being mad.
Another example is I remember someone was like, there was this lady I saw on Twitter who was, like, outraged that the cast of Black Panther weren't African. They're African American, but they weren't specifically from, like, Uganda or whatever.
They didn't grow up in Africa, the country.
Yeah, so it's a continent.
I don't care.
Okay, well anyway, that situation was weird. I feel like that was something I would have done, and you would have corrected me. We're doing a role reversal today.
You be the intelligent one. I be the dumb one that makes stupid jokes.
England is your city. Okay, no, but what I was saying was it was like annoying because we have this superhero movie with I think like a 95% black cast. I think the only white person I saw was
there's Martin Freeman and
Andy Serkis, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a almost entirely African American cast, and she was like, well, it's not good enough because they're not all specifically from African countries. And it's like, come on, dude. You can't just let us have, like, one victory at a time. We got an all-black superhero movie almost. But it's not the right kind.
Well, it's like, in terms of a practicality, you need stars in your movie.
You need people who can act more so than people from a certain place. Like, I also remember, you remember that movie, The Accountant? Okay, I also saw a comment on Facebook once where someone, I'm not being derogatory, I mean someone actually with autism was saying that he was mad that they cast an actor as the character who did not have autism. And he said, there's no one to represent us in Hollywood. And all I could think of is, okay, I kind of get that, but at the same time, how many actors who are really talented are out there and are on the spectrum? Like, can convey emotion and, play well in a scene.
Here's the thing. Would people have seen The Accountant if it starred some no-name actor who did have autism?
I feel like the novelty of, like,
if it wasn't for Ben Affleck, people wouldn't have seen a movie with an autistic main character
played by an autistic actor.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, because I feel like some people would, like, laud it as, like, this big next step in, equality and movies and, representation. Like, people would be like, check it out, we finally, we're really moving up. But as many articles as they would write praising that, it would not actually translate to, like, tons of people watching it.
Monies.
It would not, yeah, it's not the same as if you just cast someone who's good at acting and, like, has a big name that people recognize. That's the thing, a lot of people, like, they don't understand that certain movies just don't work unless you cast someone with a big name. But sometimes also I feel like there's certain things I would prefer having a no-name actor for. Like, I know they're working on the Venom movie right now. I would way prefer if Carnage, since he's gonna be the villain, was played by some, like, nobody from a TV show. Like, he could be T-Bag from, like, Prison Break or something. Or he can be Cameron Monaghan from Gotham. Nobody whose name you'll know just, like, automatically. Because if that's the case, Carnage will spend, like, 50 or 60% of the movie with a human face. No one has the same guts that Carl Urban had, where he said, you know what? The character never takes his helmet off, so I'll never take my helmet off in the movie. What a boss that guy is.
Meh.
I think that's... Because you know what? Like, I know in Hollywood that a lot of people put a lot of value on FaceTime. You know, like, getting out there and making sure you're visible. He just swallowed his pride and said, you know what? No, that's not what it's about. And he acted. He was Judge Dredd. And I forgot he was in that movie because I didn't ever see his face.
Can we stop this for 1 second? I'm wondering if I've been recording with the microphone in the computer the whole time, so just give me a second to check.
Oh, God. It sounds vaguely better. Like, I really can't tell that much of a difference. 1,
2,
3,
4,
5,
7,
6.
9.
You skipped otro.
No es otro, es ocho.
Fuck.
Otro is other.
Damn it. I dated a girl from Mexico. I should know this. Whatever. Alright, so,
So let's move on.
Let's talk
about Justice League.
Well, actually, I wanted to say that I saw something on Twitter today regarding the Venom movie. I think someone... It's not exactly, like, easy to tell, but there's this clip that apparently leaked online, and it was like someone's phone pointed at the laptop screen or whatever showing it. But it starts with the Marvel logo, and then it, just playing out the way it does, like in the off-brand movies, like it did at the beginning of Deadpool or whatever, or the Amazing Spider-Man films. And then it cuts to a black and green-looking spider slowly descending down from a web. And as soon as it gets to the bottom, it starts crawling along the floor, and then it dissolves into a black, slimy goo, and then
cares.
Sinks into the cracks of the pavement. And it looks legit, but I know it's not, because you'd be surprised how proficient people are at faking these things.
It's not. It's totally not.
I have no faith that any of this stuff is real anymore. Like, after... Because I swear, there's this same group of people who specialize specifically in just faking superhero stuff. There's that supposed after-credits scene at the end of Avengers 2 where Spider-Man's up against a wall making fun of a window washer. Or there's, the clip from Batman v Superman where Batman's watching the announcement Zod made on TV, but he's in the Batcave and he turns around and his cowl doesn't look anything like it did in the actual movie. Like, I see these things, I get what people are doing, it's funny, it's actually kind of impressive that they're able to, mimic real movie moments so well, but I don't think it's real. Now, speaking of superhero movies and false marketing, Justice League.
That's a bad transition. I was going to talk about it, but then you talked about something else, but oh well, whatever. So, the rumor mill on Justice League is not good, and normally I wouldn't pay attention to the rumors, but it's DC. And
so, like, most of the time they're true?
After Batman vs. Superman and Suicide Squad, I'm a little bit more... I tend to believe it a little bit more than I used to.
Yeah.
So,
I get that.
1 second. I'm pulling up some of these stories so we can talk about them.
I know that apparently Joss Whedon just completely dumped the ending, right?
There's a rumor that the ending, let's see, There's a rumor that an early cut of Justice League was unwatchable. Quote.
Who said that?
Anonymous sources. Apparently, they want to get rid of the dark tone, particularly with Cyborg and stuff. They're not there's $25 million in reshoots, which is normally it's like $5 to $6 million in reshoots.
So this is pretty extensive comparatively.
This is pretty extensive. It's like Suicide Squad level reshoots,
where they're like having to like completely alter the story at this point.
They're changing the connective tissue, and there's a rumor that they're changing the ending too. So the rumors, So it's kind of funny because they're doing all this editing and this reshooting stuff when the movie's only 4 months away from release. So they're going really down to the wire on this. So here's some of the rumors. The rumor is that the original focus of the movie wasn't on Steppenwolf, because the main villain of the movie is Steppenwolf, played by the Devil in Ghost Rider 2.
Huh.
And Steppenwolf is the adoptive father of Darkseid or something like that. And he's like weird. His left-hand man or something. And it wasn't going to be about Steppenwolf invading Earth for the mother boxes. It was going to be like all about the mother boxes, because the bad guys are trying to get the mother boxes, because the mother boxes are like the DC's version of the Infinity Gems. And
basically, they're like these teleporter things, yeah.
And it's going to be all about how those boxes, they're trying to get those boxes for destroying the universe. I
personally think they could have a better name, because there's just something like kind of...
And it's going to be all about that.
Weird sounding about mother box.
And then the original ending was going to be like how gonna play Steppenwolf as the Silver Surfer of the type, where he's
of Galactus.
He's the bad guy, but he's not. He's the pilot fish, and he's just here to get the stuff for the bad guy. And then it was supposed to be like a cliffhanger. And then part 2 is the Justice League fighting Darkseid. So the way they're doing is that they're trying to retool it to make it more about Steppenwolf and less about the mother boxes and how there's a bigger threat coming afterwards. And they're going to add
the problem that Zack Snyder's movies all seem to have, is that they are always like
about what's going to happen after this.
Batman v Superman is especially bad about that, because it spends a lot of focus trying to set up the next 8 movies instead of trying to like focus on the one they're doing right now. So there's all these random scenes they're just kind of thrown in there like, hey, are you excited for the cinematic universe? Because they're like playing catch up. So I think cutting that shit out and just doing like, here's a solid story that works on its own. You don't have to see 3 movies before this. You don't have to see 4 of them after it. You can watch this one and be satisfied. I think that's fine.
And they're going to be adding some stuff like establishing of Steppenwolf as a character, and then there's going to be more focus about like in the trailer they released at Comic-Con. You can see there's a scene where Steppenwolf lands in the room from Wonder Woman, and they're gonna expand on that angle, and they're gonna have some relationship stuff with Robin Wright's character from the first movie, and also this. And that's a little bit confusing because Robin Wright died, if I recall, in Wonder Woman. So they're going to have some flashback stuff with her to build up the character of Steppenwolf.
Okay. So wait, he has like a pre-established relationship with one of the Amazons?
Apparently.
But he's a space alien.
But he's also kind of like a Greek goddish kind thing.
I mean, I know they call the people from
the new gods?
Darkseid's world, they Apocalypse, they call them the new gods, yeah.
So
but they have like their own lore that they have set up. Like they're kind of like, as far as I know,
Robin Wright plays Antiope in the movie. And I'm pretty sure that Antiope dies.
In Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
I I'm trying to remember if you're thinking of a different character.
Let's see.
I can't remember many of the Amazons' names except for
there was
Diana.
one. There was a. It
was the one that was...
Here it is. When the Germans invade Themyscira in pursuit of Steve Trevor,
The Mascara.
Antiope sacrifices herself to save Diana from a bullet.
So they're going to have flashbacks to her now.
It's either that or she isn't
This character who's been dead for 70 years.
It's either that or she secretly isn't dead. Either would be equally believable
Weird.
at this point.
I don't know, man. I like changing the ending so it's more like of a singular piece of movie. So we don't have to like.
So they're gonna have a real villain
cliffhangers.
instead of Silver Surfer, saying that there's gonna be a real villain soon.
Okay, that works. I understand a cliffhanger in the context of a TV show. It's a really good way to get like people excited for a new season or the next episode even. But when you do it with movies, it's fucking obnoxious because it takes 2 years to see how that resolves and it kind of hurts the movie you're watching because they're not meant to be episodic. They're supposed to be, I think,
somewhat
movies should be one-off stories. Yeah, they should be like enough that as a trilogy it can work, but enough that each individual movie in the trilogy works on its own. And it's annoying when Marvel Cinematic Universe movies go like, hey, we're not going to actually give you an ending. Just gotta wait till the next one. I don't think any of them have done that so far that I can think about, but I feel like any day now they're gonna pull that shit.
They might do it with Avengers 3 and 4.
I'm super worried that Avengers 3 is gonna... Avengers 3 and 4 are gonna be like two-parters and require you to watch both.
I would not be surprised.
That would really upset me. So, that's a good change for the ending and making the villain in the movie a little bit more developed, but I don't know if I really necessarily agree with, like, hey, let's just suddenly, like, make a whole big deal out of, this character that died 70 years ago for some reason. I mean, I understand putting more emphasis on Wonder Woman since she's, like, the only movie in that whole series that's actually impressed people. But plus Joss himself, like Joss Whedon, now that he's kind of like in charge of the whole thing, which I think is hilarious, by the way, that the guy who directed Avengers ended up on accident also directing Justice League.
Halfway
so
directing.
Yeah. Enough that, well, I mean, since he's completely changing the story now, as well as doing, like, entirely new endings, I feel like he deserves a lot of credit. But,
he's not, it's like what happened with, Rogue One
Han
last
Solo.
year.
Yeah, and Han Solo this year.
Mm-hmm. Except that with Han Solo, the original directors were good and the new director isn't, but it's kind of the other way around.
You know, wanting to get into the film industry is kind of scary now because of this weird practice that keeps cropping up where if you're involved in like a big franchise movie, there's a chance that they'll just something bad will happen and either you'll end up disagreeing with the higher ups at the studio or, you know, whatever, and then you'll just get kicked off. Like, it's not really necessarily happening with Justice League.
Just don't pull what's his name?
Oh yeah, the guy from Fantastic Four.
Don't pull
from 2015.
Pull a Josh Trank and you'll be good.
Yeah, because part of it is don't be an asshole and like hide from executives when they're asking for progress updates because that doesn't give confidence in your ability. You wouldn't do that if you were working an office job. You shouldn't do it there. You know, have some respect. Not every executive is... I mean, yes, a lot of them are kind of slimy and are just like, hey, make sure it pleases the focus groups. But at the same time, like, there are some where it's just like, they're your boss, they want the movie to succeed, they want your career to keep going. Don't dodge them and treat them like garbage, you know? So, you gotta have a little bit more like sense than that. Don't be Josh Trank. But then there's stuff like with what happened with Edgar Wright on Ant-Man, or the directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller for Han Solo, or the director Gareth Edwards for Rogue One, where it's like the studio wants this like super factory-made product. They don't really want any like creative marks on it so that you could tell what director it is. And when the director isn't going along with it and is kind of like accidentally making a movie that's got kind of like a specific vision to it, they just like kick them off and then have some backup take over, and then it makes the whole thing feel kind of like unfinished and weird and all over the place. Mm-hmm. That's one thing about Marvel Cinematic Universe movies also, is that they, as much as the movies themselves are pretty awesome, after a while you can start to feel like they're a factory product because they start to feel a little indistinguishable from each other. Like, can you tell me which movie was directed by which person really that well? Like, I don't think anyone could say the name of Doctor Strange's director without looking
Scott
it up.
Derrickson.
Like, fuck you. That's because you're a nerd. No, but I mean like average Joe on the street. Like, we're into this stuff. We know this stuff. I mean, like, if you're some guy who doesn't really look this stuff up all the time every day and read tons and tons of articles on it, there's not really, like, you could tell when a movie's directed by Sam Raimi just by watching it. His music choice and his shot choice and his characters and writing, like, everything about it feels very specific to him. Even John Carpenter movies kind of feel not samey, but they have a certain style about them that helps to distinguish them. The Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, despite being a completely different set of directors, all usually feel pretty similar to each other.
Fun. Yeah.
Did we run out of stuff to talk about, or did you have something to say? Or
I kind of spaced out there.
We were talking about Justice League's problems and how Joss is taking over.
So we're gonna have a movie with Joss Whedon dialogue and an ending, but Zack Snyder action.
That might not be the worst thing. That actually, I mean, Zack Snyder can do action scenes. That Batman fight scene in the warehouse from Batman vs. Superman was one of the more memorable fight scenes in a superhero movie from, like, recent memory.
But the fight with Doomsday was hot garbage.
It was just, I don't know, it was just a little, like, there was too much CGI to the point that it just felt like you were watching, like, a bunch of actors on stunt wires on a green screen. Remember when he
set off a nuke above a major city, and then nothing happened and nobody addressed that?
Well, the sky was a really, really barfy color for the next few minutes. But that was about it. But the sky looked like that kind of barf you have if you've eaten too much Doritos.
And wouldn't all the electronics just be blown out across the whole city?
Would Batman's thing, like his Batmobile and his communications with Alfred,
wouldn't that just be an EMP? I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what it would be. But nobody ever addressed that. It's just, it's just been...
Well, because it was a scene from the Dark Knight the Dark Knight Returns, where Superman was like worrying about fighting this kind of random. I think he was like doing work for the government, and he was just like wandering around Dr. Manhattaning tanks in a third world country that America was at war with at the time. And then they respond with nuclear force, and it has that scene where he blows up and gets all skinny, and he's in the sky. Then he flies back down and is like, I don't give a shit, right? Mm-hmm. And that was cool, but that had a context, and it didn't have, like, all kinds of plot holes put into it. So when you, like, introduce that into the plot with Doomsday, it just kind of confuses the whole thing, because, like, Doomsday can get stabbed by kryptonite, but when you blow him up with a nuke, that just doesn't... I don't know, man. Well, I guess it's... The part of the excuse is that Doomsday is technically a Kryptonian. Which I don't know how I feel about that change. Like, it would have been cool if he was, like, Zod, but back again. But nah, he's just, like, a new character. Made from Zod's corpse.
Mm-hmm.
Did Michael Shannon actually show up on the set? Because I think I remember something about they just made, like, a rubber model of his body to be the corpse, and then just, like, let that float in the water next to Lex Luthor.
I think it'd be a lot less expensive. And besides, if you're thinking about it, like, in 2016... Michael Shannon was in, like, 4 or 5 movies, so I don't think he'd have the time.
Yeah, he had a busy year. Well, I mean, all you would have to do is, like, one scene where he's naked floating in, like, waist-high water next to Jesse Eisenberg. What, you're not comfortable being naked in the same room as Jesse Eisenberg? Well, that's a you problem. No, I get why he didn't do it. It's just
that he didn't want to be naked next to Jesse Eisenberg. I mean,
he just didn't. Yeah, he didn't want Jesse Eisenberg,
but not Jesse
Eisenberg. If it was in a scene with any other actor, it would have been fine. But he just kept thinking, man, he's just judging me so hard right now. I don't want to disappoint Jesse Eisenberg.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want him to think that there's anything wrong with my body.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I like to imagine that everyone on the set has, like, their own independent crush on Jesse Eisenberg, and they don't want Jesse Senpai to know.
That,
like, Ben Affleck kept, like, having really awkward conversations with him between
I'm sure that's why
set.
Zack Snyder cast him as that.
Yeah, right? Because he could have had, like, Bryan Cranston play Lex Luthor, and that would have been great, but he was like, but Jesse Senpai, and his hair is so luscious and long today.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I would hate to cut it off, but I have to for the sake of
art.
The movie. But he's so brave, he'll make that artistic sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. For the art.
Okay. That's the title of this episode, Secret Crush on Jesse Eisenberg. Everyone on the set, every actor, even Jesse Eisenberg,
even the grips and just random people.
Yeah, like the cameraman just kept accidentally, like,
filming him just sitting down,
panning away from Superman over to Lex Luthor when he didn't have any dialogue, and Zach was like, I know he's gorgeous, but you have to stop. You gotta focus, okay? Yep. Let's just get the scene done, and then you can gawk during the lunch breaks, right? Like,
this makes no sense.
Henry Cavill was having a really hard time saying his lines in front of Jesse Eisenberg because he was so nervous, and they had to redub all of it and, like, film him via green screen because he just couldn't be in the same room with him, and the whole time Jesse Eisenberg in this scenario is completely oblivious and has no idea, and he's like, why is everyone acting so weird on this set? I don't get it. Then Ben Affleck walks by and goes, hey, Jesse, hey, hey, how you doing? I'm Batman. I look pretty muscular today, huh? Don't you like how I look today, Jesse? And he goes, I guess, sure. And he goes, I loved you so much in Social Network.
So this is like that episode of Rick and Morty where everybody's obsessed with Morty.
Yeah, everyone wants to fuck Morty for no reason. Yeah, but yeah, okay. This makes the entire behind the scenes of Batman versus Superman way more interesting to me. Is this scenario? So feel free to animate this, someone listening to the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So what were we talking about?
I have no idea at this point.
Man, we gotta stop changing the subject on Subject to Change. Do you get it?
No.
You get the title? It's clever. I came up with it.
So yeah,
originally it wasn't supposed to be like a clever title. It was like I just actually don't know what to call it. So we'll say podcast title subject to change, like in an actual sense. But then everyone was like, hey, that sounds pretty good. Just keep that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we originally tried to do this podcast thing with all of my friends from that mountain climbing video.
But it didn't work out?
It just didn't work. Because we didn't really have any topics. It was mostly... I feel like 80% of it was just them making jokes specifically at one person's expense and then never really moving on from it. Like, every time they tried to say anything, they would cut them off or make fun of something very deeply personal about, like, a failed relationship that he had. And it's like, that's not funny. The audience doesn't get that. You're just being mean-spirited, you know? So, it didn't really work, and I kept going, guys, maybe we should, like, actually focus and have... like topics or something, and they go, no, the audience will love it if we just riff. But it's not riffing. You're not making jokes about anything except one person.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, it stopped being entertaining and just started being kind of mean. Like, I actually listened to some of those recordings, and God, they just really rip into me the whole time. But anyway, eventually we restarted, and it worked out okay.
Mm-hmm.
What? Because I just kicked everyone out and said, all right, David, you and I do it.
I think another problem is that I don't think podcasts work too well when there's too many people talking at once. Like...
Because then there's going to be, like, long stretches where someone's just sitting there listening intently while, like, 3 other people are talking. So it's like, why even have the 4th person there?
Like, Screen Junkies, their podcast, that's also kind of on YouTube, Movie Fights. I can't watch that anymore. It's just utter chaos, and it's just so annoying. And also...
Because it's like watching the new Ghostbusters movie. It's just everyone talking at once.
Mm-hmm.
Someone stop talking for a few seconds. Just one person. Just be quiet and let the other ones speak.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like with some podcasts, it's just like people like fighting for your attention, and that's kind of awkward to listen to.
It's awkward and it's kind of annoying. So yeah, I also don't really like Screen Junkies as a whole, but that's another thing.
Yeah, I could see that.
I just think they're kind of
there's a lot of reasons.
Just a kind of a fanboy echo chamber of, oh, these are the things that we like, and these are the things that we don't, and blah, blah, blah. And also...
Well, here's the things that general fans enjoy.
Here's the thing that fans enjoy.
Let's never disagree or come up with, like, an alternate perspective. Let's just say what everyone already wants to hear.
And what everybody already believes.
It's like, I think Batman Arkham Knight's the greatest game ever. Here, let me explain for 2 hours why. It was just like, what's the point? Because if everyone already agrees with you, all they're doing is just having themselves feel validated because someone on the internet echoed their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Be different. Don't be afraid to have an unpopular opinion and try and make your case for it.
I was going to make a video talking about this sort of online movie journalism and how there are all these, like, fanboy echo chambers of just people talking about, oh, I like Star Wars, oh, I like this, I like that. Kind of like along the lines of what our Red Letter Media does with Nerd Crew. But...
Yeah, well, they're making a parody
of it. So I texted Josh to ask him what he thought about it, and he said, no, it's supposed to be funny, it's comedy, don't think about it too much. It's comedy.
It's comedy. I feel like he can be a bit of an apologist for things.
Mm-hmm.
I sneezed. My first day of college is next Monday.
Cool.
It sucks. I don't want to go to college.
Well, don't go then.
I mean, I want to, but I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
It's the problem there.
Going to college
Hey, look,
in Minnesota
even more fan art of the bomb thing.
What?
And more fan art of the bomb soup thing. It's catching on really hard now, I guess.
Well, it's the one joke that all of your fans know.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like a few of them now are starting to catch on a little. The bridge crab is getting somewhere, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I feel. And you know what else is finally starting to kind of blow up for no reason? Because people keep bringing it up. Moon Knight with 3 Ks.
That doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
KKK Moon Knight for no reason. Even though I never really specifically made that joke or perpetuated it. It's just like, I wore the Moon Knight cape in a video on your channel, and everyone's like, is Xavier a Grand Wizard? And now every time they see Moon Knight, just accuse him of being a Klux Klan member.
Well, it's also the white suit, so, you know.
Well, yeah, I get it. I understand, but, you know, just...
Woohoo!
My God.
So this is what you can thank me for in your videos. I can create...
You accidentally kind of helped with another channel meme.
Yay! I'm the meme master.
Oh, God. Don't ever label yourself that with glee and excitement. I'm the meme master. No, you're just socially inept.
In my defense, I did that ironically.
This time it was ironic, but what about next time? Huh?
I don't care.
Next time it won't be ironic. Do we have anything else more to talk about, or do you think we now is a good spot?
Well, it's been 30 minutes so far in this first recording, in this next recording, so I don't know.
Well, we've recorded an hour overall.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, let's see. So, there was something, but I'm trying to think about it. Hey, did you know that there's that new, oh yeah, here it is. So I guess I've been thinking about Dark City a lot, because Dark City I'm going to watch tomorrow. So, isn't it kind of funny that there was a thing in the 90s where there were all these sci-fi movies about, what if our world is a lie? Because there was stuff like The Truman Show, where it's, oh, this one guy's world is a lie. There's Dark City, where the world is a lie. There's The Matrix, which I count as a 90s movie, is where the world was a lie. What other movies can you think of where the world was a lie? They Live.
There's They Live. I'm trying to... I mean, Truman Show was one, kind of. Where, you know, he finds out that his life is just a reality TV show that's been, very carefully constructed for years now, but once you get to a certain age, you just kind of stop being complacent and realize that, hey, this is really, like, shoddily crafted of a illusion life.
And then...
What's another one? We got Matrix, Dark City, They Live, Truman Show. I feel like, there's a couple of them.
So, there's another thing. I had a thought about The Matrix that was kind of interesting. Did you ever notice...
Which is now on Netflix.
Have you seen Jupiter Ascending, you know, the movie with Mila Kunis and Channing Tatum? Did anybody else notice that that's the exact same movie as The Matrix? Like, the difference is in the premise that it's it's space versus the world as a video game, but it's like a down on their luck loner at a dead end job learns that they're secretly part of they are secretly the most important person in a larger world, dominated by a bunch of
aliens or robots
who overact
or whatever,
really ridiculously, and they use people as the lifeblood of their worlds, of the larger world. They feed on people.
Yeah.
They're the same movie, except that everybody hated Jupiter Ascending and everybody loved The Matrix. So my question is that just related to the time period that they came out with in before? Because back in the 90s, we're like, whoa, what if the world is a lie? But now we're like,
I guess
we've
everyone
seen
just
that
had like a
before.
weird phase where they got like really existential for a little while.
Fight Club, American Beauty.
Oh yeah. Well, because Fight Club was about just like challenging the status quo and just kind of giving a middle finger to like office jobs and midlife crises and getting old and getting married, like everything that was expected. Like it's almost like a very feminist movie, but for men, and not in like an obnoxious, like in your face way. It was just like, here's a bunch of men who are like tired of what's expected of them for their lives. Get married, have a boring job, have kids, get old, retire, and die. It was a movie where they were like, hey,
Except that they took
not
that
do
too
that.
far and decided to literally form a terrorist cult.
Well, yeah, it wasn't like, hey, let's... Because I remember I was reading some like interviews with Chuck Palahniuk, the author, and he was talking about how there was books like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, where it was like a movie, or it was a book and eventually a movie adaptation, if I'm not mistaken, about a bunch of women like kind of coming of age and becoming friends and being buddies.
And there was also
finding
Thelma and Louise
together.
in the 90s, Ridley Scott.
There was stuff like that. So he was like, well, I want to write a sort of story like that for men, a bonding story for men, where it was like
the book probably didn't have the same sort of sense of irony that the movie did about it, but that's not the point. Is that like,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, there were a lot of existential
I
movies
just like
in the 90s.
whole thing that it's like, instead of let's form like a book club or start like a clothing store or something, it was just, let's get into a dirty basement, take off our shirts, and fight each other to get out our anger problems. And that's the bonding for men. And I like how, as horrible and like kind of sexist as that is, it kind of feels right. I think that makes a lot of sense.
There's a lot of... So my question that you didn't answer is, was The Matrix positive response compared to Jupiter Ascending just related to the time period and the whole existential... I'm kind of busy at the moment. The whole... Sorry.
I think
Can I just finish my thought? Quickly?
Yeah.
Was it all related to the whole existential thing that they had going on in the 90s, where The Matrix just sort of capitalized on that trend to become a huge blockbuster? Or is the difference in response related to the gender? Because they're basically the same movie, and Jupiter Ascending has a large cult following amongst female science fiction fans who it's kind of a guilty pleasure for them, where they enjoy it kind of ironically, where all the traditional genre tropes are reversed, kinda.
Yeah.
So
I want to have more faith in society than it was directed by women and it was like about a woman. That's why it didn't do well. I don't think that's the case. I think it's the fact that Channing Tatum is a dog man who wants to fuck a space princess.
How was that any different from what's her name, Carrie Ann Moss in skin tight leather and sunglasses in the middle of the night,
doing a bunch of flips and tricks
to show off her butt?
Okay, if I could offer maybe a perspective, I think it's because The Matrix infatuated people as a series for a while, because there was nothing really directly to compare it to at the time. It seemed very original, not because it was original, but more so that they just said, hey, let's just put a bunch of anime stuff in our live action movie, and the West wasn't super exposed to that kind of thing yet, so they didn't realize how much they were stealing from anime. And I'm not like a giant weeaboo, so don't mistake me for like saying like, oh, it's those perfect anime movies, they got poached. But what I'm saying is that it felt new. It was stylistically very unique in that the action scenes didn't look quite like anything anyone had seen before. They made some of the very first use of like CG kung fu action movie stuff to really like separate their fight scenes from other stuff. and it had a very unique premise in that it wasn't just like... I mean, there was a couple of movies that had a very similar premise around the time, as we've pointed out, with like They Live or Dark City or whatever. But it was told in such a way where it wasn't necessarily like really dark and dramatic.
So, yeah.
Like it was an excuse to have like guys doing backflips and shooting 2 pistols. Like make it fucking Max
But
Payne.
I think it's kind of funny.
Even though that
I'm
came out
looking-
after. Like I think it was just that Matrix seemed special.
I think that this is kind of interesting. So, what am I thinking? So, I've been saying for many years that the Matrix is total wish fulfillment, and I think that's kind of part of it. Like, maybe the critics kind of liked it because it was something new and something different, but the audience liked it because it's kind of wish fulfillment, because it's like, oh look, my years of being a loner who plays with computers and stays up until
like
noon.
5 a.m.
And gets up at noon, stays up until 5 a.m. and gets up at noon, suddenly means that I'm the most I am robot Jesus.
I'm the most special and important person in the history of ever.
Because I do the things that you nerds do. And I think that's part of why people kind of liked it. And here's kind of like the attitude that is kind of like the same attitude these female fans have found with Jupiter Ascending that I thought was interesting, because it says, this movie is garbage, but it's our garbage. The film,
where it's like, here's a boring normal
for girls. The way that Matrix was
Matrix is wish
guys.
Fulfillment for guys.
Is that
I could see that. I think one does a much.
It says,
I mean,
like,
I think the first Matrix movie is filled with problems.
Here's a quote from this. It says, women don't always want superhuman robots to look up to. We want to be the same klutzy nobody who is cosseted and petted and told we're special, despite all evidence to the contrary. So it's kind of like... It's kind of... Yeah, it's...
Don't identify with Wonder Woman and aspire to be what she is. Just accept that you are clumsy Mila Kunis.
But you're still special and important.
Are probably
gonna save the world.
Gonna take it from Dogman Channing Tatum anyway.
Yeah, and it's kind of like Channing Tatum played the whatchamacallits, he played the Carrie-Anne Moss character. The Trinity, who is the sexy person who's gonna save you.
Here's the super attractive person that likes you in spite of the fact that you're incredibly boring and don't do anything very interesting. Like, Neo is the most boring guy. He doesn't have a personality.
He is so boring.
He doesn't say anything. He talks like...
I have to make sure that we stop Mr. Smith, and we have to...
Like, he just...
He's such a boring character, but so you can imagine him as him. Imagine him as you, in the same way that you can imagine Mila Kunis as a female you.
Yeah, like that term I invented, mannequin character. He's so little of a character that you can just self-insert over it. I get that just this is overused, normal enough.
But if Rey is a Mary Sue, then Mila Kunis is definitely a Mary Sue, and Neo or Keanu Reeves is definitely a Gary Stu or a Marty Stu or whatever the male equivalent is.
Yeah, where it's just a character that's boring because they're good at everything and don't have any flaws or anything.
And everybody's obsessed
with
is
he, a current Marvel character?
What?
I said, what is he, a current Marvel character?
Why is he a current Marvel character? What's happening with current Marvel characters that makes them like that?
Well, you see, here's a special trick. If you're a comic book writer, and I finally figured it out. I figured out what the problem is. Everyone needs to stop thinking politically. Because that's what they want you to think. That's what they want from you. Here's how Marvel has gotten away with, basically doing, like, half the work they used to. It's that stupid, idiot millennials...
Like me?
Will... Yes, like you.
Woohoo! I'm a stupid idiot
all very
millennial.
liberal.
Yay!
all of us are very left-leaning because of our age. That's just how the generation is. The kids in the 60s were like that. That's how teenagers are. We're all like, yo, we want to be like contrarian to the old white businessmen's. So they're like, okay, let's come up with a way to get all the teenagers and Tumblr folks, which are a bunch of like annoying 20-somethings. The Tumblr people. You know, they got the teenagers in the bag. Well, the dumb ones. They got the Tumblr folks in the bag. Then they just got whatever random crazy, like, super political people on the internet. Basically, they got them all in a trap. Because they're like, okay, I'm going to write a new version of Iron Man. And it's going to be, like, it's going to have way less personality and character to it. I'm going to be able to try way less. Because I won't really have to put in a whole lot of conflict. I won't really have to develop the character a whole lot. I won't really even have to, like, put that much effort into the actual plot.
Who needs a plot anyway?
But because the character is not a white man, the audience is going to defend it no matter what. It doesn't matter what the quality is. It doesn't matter how the story is told. If the character fits a certain requirement for diversity... No matter what,
it's a diverse character.
Way less work, and people. It doesn't matter.
If you criticize it, you're racist.
People will, exactly. You don't get to have to face criticism anymore because everyone who tries to say that you didn't try very hard, you could just like block them on Twitter and say, "Oh, they must be racist." It's amazing. It's brilliant. They have to put they have come up with this amazing strategy.
So what are the examples of this? When does that happen?
Well, you see, let's say a character like Amadeus Cho. He is the current Hulk. He is the totally awesome Hulk.
Okay, totally awesome.
He's a like a teenager, but he's Korean. He is a super genius who is like the third smartest person on the planet. He knows basically everything and is good at everything. And he can control the Hulk. He can turn back and forth with no problem. And he even has stretchy pants, so he doesn't even have to worry about that.
That sounds like a perfect person.
Right? So he has like nothing really going on, but he's not Bruce Banner, who is a white guy. So
he's automatically genius.
Automatically, all of those things that you could say, well, isn't that kind of boring, are completely innocuous and can be ignored.
Of course.
Because, you see, it's Marvel is now condescending and, like, talking down to everyone who wants more diversity in comics by not really providing it, because they're not providing new and interesting characters along with the diversity. They're just creating new characters that aren't white, and then not actually making them characters. Really, they're just caricatures. It's just, here's a guy who's impossibly smart. Here's a guy who's like an exact copy of Peter Parker with no distinguishing features or personality of his own. Here's a girl who's now Iron Man, who's a genius and good at everything. It's just like all these... I figured out the legacy characters. You don't have to try very hard as a writer, because people will defend it no matter what, as long as you just make sure they aren't what existed before. Because, yes, there are too many white comic book characters. Like, 90% of them are white. We could use some new ones, right? The operative word being new. And character. A character should be more than just their defining characteristics physically. I don't think a character is interesting specifically because they are black. Like, let's look at, like, Spawn, or Blade, or Luke Cage, or Black Lightning, or Static.
Black Lightning
all of these
black,
characters,
so he's automatically interesting.
Well, no, the thing about those characters is that they've been around for a long time, and they all have their own distinct personalities, you know? Static is, he's not the smartest, but he definitely is very caring. He had his own cartoon on Cartoon Network.
But he's black, so that's
he's
his automatic character trait is that he's black.
If he were created today, yes. I'm advocating for the older black characters.
He's black.
Even Black Panther, T'Challa, is awesome. Because they existed before, back when the writers were like, let's actually give a shit about it. So, and they weren't all stereotypes. Like, if you look at John Stewart Green Lantern, he was just a guy. And it was cool. They weren't all like, yes, there was a lot of the blaxploitation phase worked into it. But no, a lot of these characters, really long-running black characters from a long time ago, are more interesting to me. Like, I don't mind Sam Wilson as Captain America. I think Sam Wilson is interesting enough that he can stand on his own. But yes, it doesn't matter if his story is told well or not. It doesn't matter if he's interesting.
Because he's black.
I think that some of these characters are. But because they fit a certain diversity quota, you don't really even have to, it just kind of makes them impervious to criticism.
Of course, that's perfectly reasonable.
I think that
you can't criticize somebody because they're that way. If you do, you're
exactly.
racist.
So if you criticize, that's the thing, is that I think Marvel is genius in that they've come up with this brilliant, amazing plan. And I've been thinking about it too. Every genre has a lot of controversy for a few years. Remember how everyone was saying everything about video games was either sexist or racist for a while? I barely see that anymore. I felt like every day someone was claiming that the whole video game industry was going to crash over one person and her actions.
That doesn't mean that they're not sexist and racist.
But now it's been long enough that all that stuff is just kind of floated away, because it was really just a phase. It was just a marketing gimmick. Yeah. So comic books, I feel like they're going to normalize in a few years when all the writers go, okay, the gimmick has run out. We have to try harder. I have to make Riri Williams have conflict and flaws now. I think all these characters are kind of crap right now, but in a few years, once everyone gets wise to the trick and realizes that they're using politics as a mask for being lazy, what's a perfect analogy to describe this? It's like if you want to do a school paper, but you don't want to try really hard on it, so you just make it about something really controversial and dark, or
about racism or sexism,
or no. How about, let's say for this example, you have to do a thesis paper. So even though you're not that great of a writer, you pick a subject matter that's going to tug at the teacher's heartstrings, so it doesn't matter if it was written well. So you make it about assisted suicide. The paper is just about doctors euthanizing patients. That's a pretty dark subject matter.
Isn't that something that happened in one of your classes that somebody did?
Yes, one of my friends, and I know he won't listen to this, so I'll call him out on it. One of my friends did every school project on doctors euthanizing terminal patients. He did almost every school project on that for a year. And because it was different teachers, they didn't notice what he was doing. So because it was a dark subject matter that made everyone uncomfortable, it didn't matter how well he even really tried with the writing, because he always wrote it the day before it was due. Sometimes he would finish it 20 minutes before it was due in the lunchroom. He'd turn it in and get an A because it was a subject matter. Yes, there's a theme. So let's say these comic books, they have a theme of racial diversity or racism or race relations.
Racialism?
Or maybe... I said
it wrong. You said it right.
Oh, okay. Okay, or let's say gender politics. Here's a trans character or a gay character or whatever. They can put that in there. It's just the fact that they're not doing it well or putting effort into it. It's really lazy and half-assed, and I feel like if I weren't white, I would be kind of annoyed at these characters because there's not that much effort put into them. As it is, I don't really care because these characters aren't for me, and I'm too smart to see that they're just like... It's not even pandering. Pandering it's hard to describe it. It's just like pulling the wool over someone's eyes, you know? It's just, they're just bad. And they're getting away with it. They're tricking people. But one day it's going to stop working and everyone's going to go, hey, we've been reading these characters for like 5 years now, and they haven't gotten really great or interesting, and their stories have stagnated super hard. And then Marvel's going to go, oh shit, we have to try again. And that's going to cause major problems when they have to like completely rehook up the writing staff. Like they're going to fire people, they're going to get new writers. It's going to like completely change the landscape. While as I feel like DC right now is just like, okay, let's not piss off anyone because Marvel is like being, quote, experimental right now. So let's just do storylines with the characters people like. You know, like if people like Black Wally West, don't delete him from history. Keep him. If people like redheaded Wally West, keep him too. Why not? Who cares? There's 2 Wally Wests running around.
We need 3 Wally Wests.
Even though... So they're just doing what people want to read, not necessarily what people will defend if someone criticizes it. So there are the people who are... I feel like there's 3 camps. There's people who are going to defend it no matter what, just specifically because that's the way they're wired politically. People who just are too smart to see that it's bad and lazy writing.
Too smart to see?
And then there are people who are too smart and see, not to see, sorry. People who are too smart and see through the bullshit. And the third camp, which is the actual people who just hate these characters on basis of being black or women or Asian or gay or whatever. Like, those really scummy, evil people who are like, you know, I won't read America Chavez because she's a lesbian. Like, that's those people. And the thing is that everyone keeps confusing group 2 for 3 because they both have a negative opinion, and it's easy to not listen to them and just assume that they're saying the same thing when it's a completely different criticism.
They're pretty much the same. They're both racist.
Oh. And that is, I've been thinking about it a lot. I figured out what's wrong with Marvel Comics right now, and I have full faith that it'll... Is that the same thing that's wrong with
DC Comics right now?
No, DC Comics right now is okay. They're doing fine.
So do you think that DC is better than Marvel?
After a long, long life of saying no to that question, I'll say yes. I have been a giant Marvel fan my whole life. Like, I haven't, like, disliked DC. I just have thought generally that I like Marvel characters more. Currently, I think DC just, like, is just putting harder work into their writing. You know, like Mr. Miracle, I read that the other day. I think it's written by Tom King. Was fucking amazing. Like, it reminds me of, like, a Moon Knight book because it was so trippy and, like, philosophical.
But Moon Knight is racist because he went to Egypt. And you can't go to Egypt unless you're in Egypt.
I don't understand what you're saying. Like, there's a certain point where you cross parody and just start saying things that are confusing.
The thing that, like, Iron Fist, like, you can't be good at martial arts.
A guy can't know martial arts unless, like, I love how it was...
You can't go to Asia and learn martial arts unless you're an Asian. And then the joke is, you can't go to Egypt and have a weird, trippy psychological crisis where you think the Egyptian gods are real unless you're from Egypt.
Yeah, I like how the intentions for Iron Fist were, like, well placed. Like, they wanted, they just, you know, they want an Asian superhero because there's not enough of those, right? I get that, but then they accidentally became racist in that they were saying, like, it wasn't just like, yeah, we want an Asian superhero, just change Iron Fist for the hell of it, right? That's basically what they should have said. Like, they should have just come clean about it. Instead, it was a white guy can't learn martial arts and be a martial arts master. Only Asian people should be able to know martial arts. And it was like, you, in your quest to stamp out racism, accidentally just said a bunch of racist stuff. It's so weird and silly right now. Everyone's just... No one wants to really just say what things are anymore. No one wants to say, yeah, these books are badly written. Yeah, we just don't want a white guy playing Iron Fist. That's fine! If that's just what the general fan consensus is, then sure. I could understand wanting to recast someone just for the fun of it. I'd be fine if Deadpool was played by a black actor or an Asian actor, because really in the end it doesn't matter as long as you... I don't know, I think someone with better comedy chops, but not like necessarily like one of those Chris Tucker types or like Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart for Deadpool.
No. But, you know, what I'm saying is like, I don't care, really, because it doesn't matter as long as the character acts and talks the right way and has a cool costume. Just as long as their costume, like, they can... you know what? Here's a hot take. I am okay with casting a black actor as Peter Parker. Because I like the character's personality enough, and I like his costume, and I like his powers, and I like his story. I like all of that enough that I feel like the theme of anybody could be behind the mask would be accentuated if you could really just cast anybody.
Cast a lesbian black lady as Peter Parker.
No. But if they cast a black actor as Peter Parker...
No.
Which again,
Peter Parker needs to be trans.
I'm not necessarily advocating for it, but I'm saying I'd be okay with it.
He needs to be trans.
It would. I feel like, and here's the shitty reality. Here's something really like horrible that no one wants to admit. This is terrible. If Peter Parker were played by a black actor in the movies, no one would ask for Miles because the necessity for it would be gone. There is no reason for Miles if Peter is black, because what is special about Miles? He is a copy of Peter Parker.
Like, you're not getting this.
You got to listen to me. Peter Parker, personality-wise, is almost identical to Miles.
Peter
and
Parker
Miles is really
a
only
trans
special to people.
Guy, because he can't put on a tie. So you can't replace him with a black guy, because that would be erasing trans people from the screen. So that would be even more racist. So it's racist even though it's technically transphobic.
By the way, do you know Brian Michael Bendis, in his like race to try and figure out how to make Iceman gay, kind of like just gave a giant middle finger to the bisexual community, because it's like Jean Grey starts reading Bobby Drake's thoughts and is like, yeah, you're 100% totally gay. All those times you were able to have sex with women and kiss women and say things about how you were attracted to them, all of that was a front. There is no possibility ever that Iceman could be bisexual. And I think that's referred to as bi erasure, where you're just pretending you can only be gay or only be straight and that the middle ground doesn't exist. In fact, that's another thing, is that bisexual people don't get really any kind of representation, and I feel like that was kind of a blow to their community. You see what I mean? Like, it's just a bunch of bullshit. No one's thinking these things through. It's just bad. I didn't think this episode would get political when we started.
Well, I kind of forced you into it, so I apologize.
Like, I hope I didn't, like, piss anyone off by... Like, because there's got to be someone out there who just genuinely really loves Miles or Riri or...
Hey, listen.
Amadeus, and whatever. That's
Nobody
fine.
watches this show. It doesn't matter. Nobody's going to hear what you say here anyway.
Okay. So what I'm advocating for is, you know what? Don't erase the legacy characters. Don't just, like, because that's what Marvel, I think, Generations and Legacy looks like it's doing, this new event that they're planning. I don't want that. I don't want Miles to just stop existing forever. I think that's stupid, because he's been here for too long, and he's already got too many people rooting for him. What I want is Brian Michael Bendis to stop writing him, so someone who has, like, actual talent as a writer, because, like, Bendis has fallen off super hard
I don't
recently.
know who Bendis is.
Get
so
someone who's like... He's the guy who wrote Ultimate
never read
Spider-Man and Civil War 2. He's just bad. I want new writers. Like, just completely change around the staff to people who get the characters and know how to make them interesting. And then keep Riri Williams and keep Amadeus Cho and keep
make
Miles.
Peter Parker
and then just tell good stories with them.
That
Whatever.
needs to happen.
Like, I don't necessarily... I'm not going to be like one of those guys who's like, I need the Hulk back. Bruce Banner's my favorite character of all time, even though they've never... Like, people who say that, even though they've read maybe 2 Hulk books and really only just played, like, the video games or something. No, like... I'm fine with these characters being switched out because I don't really read the original characters that they're replacing. Like, I never read a ton of Iron Man books, or I wasn't super invested in Hulk. I'm okay with the characters being switched out because I wasn't that attached to the ones that they are, like their predecessors. But I want the new ones to at least be written well to justify replacing the older generation, So, just think about that. Just think about how these characters could be better written, and I feel like that's a whole other topic, like specifics as to why I think they're bad. But I'll say generally, I think it's because there's not a lot of flaws to any of these characters. Like, they're all specifically very good at everything. They don't really face a lot of conflict. Like, they don't have any kind of unique challenges also presented by their race. Like, I guess Riri Williams almost got shot by the cops, and boy was that on the nose. But, like, if you want to do it right, there needs to be more effort put in. And I think these writers currently are not trying very hard. And that's what upsets me. And I think the world could use more people putting in effort instead of just going, hey, look, I'm appeasing the political, like... It is basically... I'm appeasing the current majority with this decision without actually putting a ton of work into it,
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? It's like you're building a car and you want the person you're building it for to be excited, and their favorite color is red, right? They love the color red. The car itself barely runs, and the brakes are very shoddy. But boy, does that paint job look great. But boy, are you going to get into an accident the second you start trying to actually, like, really go anywhere with it. Make a better car. Make sure the engine runs.
You don't need an engine. You just need a paint job.
There we go. I figured it out. I came up with the analogy to explain it. Here's the problem. Alright? I feel like I don't want to talk about the legacy characters in Marvel or politics anymore, and please don't push me to. Because I feel like it gets boring listening to me say the same three sentences over and over in different ways.
Wrap it up after that. I think that's probably enough for today. I was planning to
been a
bring
long
up,
episode.
What is it? Marvel Netflix, and talk about that a bit, but I guess we don't have the time.
So what, are you mad? You mad that you made me talk about
really.
Politics? It's your fault.
Well, a lot of things are my
But
fault.
no, we can get to that next time. Well, you know what? We can get to it after Defenders has come out.
And I'm not going to watch it.
So we'll have even more to talk about.
Or if I watch it, I'm not going to have enough time to finish it.
I'll watch it. I don't... it's coming out in like 5 days, so it'll be out on Friday. All I got is like school orientation, and then I could just watch it over the weekend.
You have orientation on Friday?
Yeah, another stupid meeting at the school,
orientation
and then the first official day. The first official day will be on Monday, I believe.
I have orientation in 2 weeks, and the official start of classes is 2 weeks from like Wednesday or Thursday. So I'm luckier than you. Mwahahahahahaha.
Damn. Enjoy your extra time of freedom.
Most of it is probably going to be spent driving.
Yeah, that's gonna suck. Well, have fun with your 5-day long road trip.
To
See you around, Boyle.
I'll be in what was it?
You'll be in the state of Arkansas.
Arkansas, Indiana. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll
I'm gonna stop recording now.
Okay. Bye, audience.
And
Tell me your thoughts on the politics thing.
don't talk about real life politics. Just talk about the politics about comic books, because real life politics sucks.
Okay, now that I've just completely unfiltered, just blown up about it, and gave my thoughts, because I've talked about it before, but I kind of danced around it a little. Now that I've really just kind of thrown it all out there, give me your thoughts. Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm being an asshole? Do you think I'm being closed-minded? Do you think that I'm totally on the money?
Do you have an opinion at all?
Let me know. Do you just not even
like
care?
Me?
Whatever. It's supposed to be a conversation. It's supposed to be let's have a dialogue about this and make sure something gets fixed eventually. It's not just let's keep arguing or just hating on someone for thinking a different way.
Hating is fun.
Check different. People need to start looking at things from each other's perspectives instead of just maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe I'm just the most wrongest person in the world. I'll be willing to have someone explain why, if they can do it in a way that's good enough. If you can convince me, I'll totally be on the other side. I'll be promoting Miles all day. Ugh.
Have fun. We'll see you next time. Talk about it in the comments. And have a great whatever day of the week you're watching this on, because I have no idea when this is actually going to come out.
Alright, see you around. Have
Bye.
fun editing this, David. Bye.